what I'd like to share with you today, the life of an item, is not about all of the kind of mathematical and psychometric modeling we do on the data and the numbers. Okay, a lot of the standards that we have to adhere to are about that. But what I'd like to talk with you about today and help you understand is this notion of the life of an item. Because what our standards direct for us is not only all of that mathematical modeling that we need to do to verify the scores and verify the inferences, but a lot of the work that we do is capturing, extracting professional judgment from the experts, you, and using that judgment, using that expertise to design the assessment every step of the way. So if I'm working for the medical college admissions test, I've got to work with doctors and educators of students in medical school. If I'm working on the CPA exam, my subject matter experts are people who are CPAs. The same in educational testing and educational achievement testing. If I'm working to build and design educational tests, I got to work with teachers, and we do. So let me share with you the life of an item. I'm going to describe for you how we've done this for the Common Core assessments. I really can't speak to what happened prior to the design and development of the Common Core assessments in New York because I wasn't here, but I can guarantee you that the process that I'm describing is generally the process that all states, including New York, follow to develop and design assessments because this is what the standards tell us that we have to do. With some exceptions, and I will point them out as I'm going to try to remember to do, this process that I'm describing is true for how we develop and design the 3 through 8 assessments, for which we have a partner, a vendor, a service provider, Pearson, to help us with the development. I will describe their role versus our role. But it is also true for how we design and develop the Regents examination. We also have folks who help us design and develop those tests, and those are called educational consultants. And these are active or recently retired New York State teachers, okay? But the process that I'm going to describe, the life of an item, is generally the same. Other differences that I will point out as they emerge in this description are how we have supplemented and improved this process, this baseline process for the design and the development of the Common Core assessments. So for example, one of the things that we did when we first started this work was we formed the content advisory panels. Are folks familiar with this CAPS? Is anyone in the room on the CAP? Okay, great. Hi, great, wonderful. So we started these CAPs about 3 years ago now. And these are, we have one for ELA, one for math. We also have one for science, one for social studies. And these content advisory panels meet for a couple of days, 3 or 4 times a year in Albany. And they've been doing so now, I think about 3 years. And they advise us on all things content related for assessments and curricula. And these are a very astute and interesting mix of folks because and number one, they're all New York State educators, but we, by design, recruited folks that span from elementary, middle, high school, and college faculty. And we make sure we have representation of folks with specialty in ELL and SWD. And the conversations that these folks have are really enriched because the middle school experts are informed by what the high school teachers are saying and what the faculty are saying and what the elementary, and we really appreciate that continuity and that discourse. These content advisory panels have helped us interpret the standards. They've helped us develop our performance level descriptions, which I will describe later in the process. And at the initial phases of the design, just like today, they were very instrumental in helping us figure out how to assess the standards within the constraints of our assessment. We also worked very closely early in the process with consultation from the College Board, from Student Achievement Partners. We worked very closely with the variety of advisors and state leaders from other states in the design of PARC to make sure we were taking advantage of everything that was being figured out and being learned there. And throughout this process, we've developed a lot of design documentation. It's all on Engage. So when a item is born, the first activity in the conception of an item, and here I'll give an example from 3 through 8 with Pearson, is that an item writer working for Pearson sits down, and this is something that we're doing now, this spring, May, June, July, they sit down and they start writing an item. But they don't just start with a blank sheet of paper and whatever is in their head. They have all of the design documents. They know, well, first of all, they have the standards. They have the standards. They have our passage selection criteria. They have our item writing criteria. They have our performance level descriptions that describe how the knowledge and skills of a level 2 is different from the knowledge and skills at a level 3, and how that's different from the knowledge and skills at a level 4. They have a wealth of material, and they sit down and they start drafting items. Those items do not come to the state unless they have been reviewed by our service provider, our vendor, and they can assure us that the items meet all of our design criteria. They are contractually obligated to do this. So we developed the design criteria. We tell the vendor, write items that meet this criteria. Don't send us any items until they meet this criteria. We then get the items. Who are we? The Office of State Assessment. Who are the people in the Office of State Assessment that are reviewing these items to ensure that they meet our criteria? These are former New York State certified teachers, okay? These are not just people that we've picked off a cloud or from Illinois or somewhere. They have to have New York State certification, and they have to have teaching experience before they can come into the Office of State Assessment and work on test items, okay? So what do they do? And this is still, you know, at the very early conception of an item. So this is what we're doing late spring, summer of 14. They get these items from the vendor, they get the documentation that says these items meet the criteria that you've told us they must meet, New York State, and they verify that, and they give feedback, they give edits, and then an iterative process starts between the Office of State Assessment and the service provider to get these items in its best shape possible. Once Office of State Assessment thinks the items are in the best shape that they can be, we invite in educators, certified New York State educators, to come in and review every single item and give us approval or feedback and edits on every single item. And if there are any passages or any items that these New York State educators think should not go forward in the process, they get nixed, okay? This is a 5-day process that happens in August. And we have a way to recruit teachers through our website that I've been told is too difficult to tell you how to find it on our website, so we're going to send you the link after this talk. But we make sure that for the 5th grade items, we have 5th grade teachers. For the 4th grade items, we have 4th grade teachers. And literally, they sit in Albany for 5 days in August before school starts and go through every single item. So the next step in the process is that, and this takes the majority of the fall of 14 for these items, these little baby, I guess they're about toddlers now. So for the rest of the fall, there's an iteration between Office of State Assessment and the vendor to make sure that all of the edits and feedback that we receive from the teachers are reflected with fidelity in the items. This is a long process, okay? The next step in the process around winter of 15, the items get slated for field testing. They will either be embedded in the operational test or they will go into standalone. If they're embedded in the operational test, they get reviewed through the operational test review process, which I'll describe in a moment, and the field test forms are also reviewed. Then the field testing occurs. We get the data back, okay? Now, contrary to popular belief, we don't lose a lot of items due to field testing because they've been scrubbed and given so much care and attention before they ever get field tested that it is really, relatively speaking, a very rare occurrence that we get the data back and say, whoa, we didn't see that before we looked at the data. The data help us for a handful of items make changes like, oh, we thought this item was going to be really challenging, but it turned out to be really easy. Let's take a look at it. Oh goodness, we know why that item was really easy. We gave the answer to it 2 items later. We need to fix that. Or, wow, this item, we intended it to be fairly easy, and it's hardly anybody got it right. Oh, yeah, that typo really confused people. It's things like that. It doesn't happen that often because we scrub these items or put them through such a rigorous development process before they ever get onto field tests, but we need the data anyway because it helps inform construction. The other process that happens, and here this will be about spring 15 for the items that started development in spring 14, or in summer 15 rather, is that for all of the constructed response items that have been field tested, we bring in teachers from all over the state to help us look at the student work and look at the rubrics and help, and this is called Rangefinding, and help us determine if any of the rubrics need to be adjusted based on what we're seeing in student work. They also help us choose exemplar papers for each of the score points on the rubric. And this is what we use for the scoring materials that I'm sure you're all familiar with. This happens in the summer of 15. So between the summer of 15 and like the winter of 16, what we'll do at that time is start constructing the full test forms. This is a really important step in the process because for these types of achievement tests where the ultimate goal is to classify students into one of 4 performance levels, we need to make sure that for every form we have items that are appropriate for students who are a level 2 but not yet a level 3 that they can answer correctly. We need to make sure we have items that students who are a level 3 but not yet a level 4 and also beyond a level 2 that they can answer correctly. And finally, we need to have items on the test that level 4s can answer correctly, but we don't expect anyone else on the test to answer correctly. Making sure that we have a breadth of items that not only cover all the standards, but also cover this breadth of challenge or represent kind of the proficiency continuum that we're trying to measure is a very important step, and our test specifications help us create those forms. But then we bring in educators once again before these go live. The educators, again, look at all of the items. Hopefully by this time there are no major edits that need to be made. But if there are, we either, if it's a major edit, we take the item off because it has to be field tested again if it's a major edit. If it's a minor, we can live with it. But at this time, the teachers are really stepping back and helping us understand if, as a whole, the form is fair, appropriate, et cetera. And they start this process by taking the test, the full test, the full form. And I will say, I need to clarify that when we bring educators in for the review, we ask them specifically, does this item measure the standard that it's intended to measure? Is this item fair? Is this item clear? And we are asking the exact questions that we need the answers to make the items of the highest quality possible. So after this final form review, then the assessment goes operational, and that is when in spring 16, the item finally, kind of takes its flight from the nest after 2 years of development. Again, after operational testing, we review all of the data. If there are any items that have problematic data, we address that in scoring. We also, just like you saw last year when we heard feedback from the field, we made adjustments to the assessment for the following year. We will do that again this year. It's part of our process. We have telephone numbers and email addresses that the field can use to share with us their observations during administration and scoring. And we take this feedback very seriously. One of the things, a couple of things that I want to mention before I just switch topics for a second, is that when we first administer a test, like last year in 2013 was the first time that we administered the 3 through 8 assessments, just like this June will be the first time that we administer the Common Core ELA Regents and the Common Core Algebra 1 Regents. We need to set the cut scores, and this is a process called standard setting. If you were here last year and attended my talk, last year you heard me describe in excruciating detail how we set the cut scores for the 3 through 8 assessments. We are generally using the same process for the Regents exams in June with a slight modification. But the point of standard setting is that it is educator judgment that determines the cut scores. And it is educator judgment based on the performance level descriptions, okay? The performance level descriptions, again, developed by New York State educators, tell us how the knowledge and skills of a student who is level 2 in 4th grade math differs from level 1 and level 3, how the knowledge and skills of a student who is a level 3 differs from that of level 2 and level 4, and the knowledge and skills of a level 4 differ from level 3. This very, very rich set of information, again, developed by New York State educators, is what is at the heart of the standard setting process. And that is something that we went through in April of 13 for the 3 through 8 test. And we did it in June and July of the 13 for those tests. We'll do it this summer for the Regents test. And what that standard setting process does, as well as some more technical psychometrics, and what our test specifications do, is we build the test. Our intention is every year, so just like this was the second year of the 3 through 8 test, our intention is that the forms measure the standards, not in the exact same way, because there's a variety of ways to interpret each standard and assess each standard. We want to represent that diversity. But our full intention is that the tests are generally the same, and we use the equating process to make sure that your interpretation of a level 3 for 3rd graders in April 14 is the same interpretation of a level 3 of 3rd graders from last year. Just like this year, your interpretation of what passing means on the Regents Common Core will hold forth for the next administration in August, and then January, and then the following June. This is our obligation and our duty, and our profession spends quite a bit of our energy and resources ensuring that that is true. Just quickly before we close, and then I need to fire up I'm supposed to do like this when I need there we go. Okay, these are the Regents performance levels. This afternoon, there are several sessions about the new Common Core Regents exams, okay? Now, historically, the scores on the Regents exams have been used for a variety of interpretations. What is mastery? What is mastery for credit by examination? What is our aspirational performance measure that means that the students are college ready? What is passing for graduation purposes? What is passing for the purpose of local diploma? So we have an assessment here, the Regents assessment, that serves many, many different policy purposes. And for the Common Core, we took this into account from the very beginning, that this assessment needs to serve a variety of interpretations. And we are going to do our best to encourage the field to start thinking about the interpretations from the Regents exams within these performance levels. Now, these are not new. They basically reflect exactly how the exam has been used in the field for millennia. For the Common Core Regents exams, here we'll start at level 5. We will have a performance level that corresponds to exceeding the Common Core grade level expectations, or course level grade expectations in the high school. It's not really grade anymore. We will have a performance level 4 that reflects meeting the Common Core expectations, and this level 4 will not be required for graduation purposes until at least 2022. This was a resolution passed by the board a few months ago. We will have a level 3 that reflects that the student has partially met the Common Core expectations. This level 3, the cut score, for familiarity purposes, we're going to make sure that cut score is 65. But this will reflect what it means to pass for the purposes of graduation. The other directive from the board is that we keep the pass rates on the individual exams similar to what they have been over the past few years. So we will not see any sort of drop. We are going to engineer that. We're going to assure that the pass rates stay the same as they have the past couple of years for each Algebra 1 and ELA. And then we have a level 2 that is going to reflect performance for that safety net for the local diploma. Now it's thought of as a 55. We're going to refer to it as a level 2. And then there will be those students, hopefully very few students, who do not yet meet the knowledge and skills even required for level 2. But I want to kind of share this with you first to give folks an opportunity to ask any questions. I would prefer questions about psychometrics and assessment design. But there are sessions this afternoon focused on the new Common Core Regents exams. I hope you attend those. We're very excited to be here today to talk about that. But I think with that, I'm done. Thank you for your patience and your attention. I really appreciate it. And I think if you want a few questions.